This is part of our Friends Forever series, where we'll be reading a little excerpt from one of my books about lovers, friends, romances, heartaches and heartbreaks. And hopefully this will provide a little respite for you or uplift you in some way if you're going through something similar. This is from my book, Rose and Sky, part of my Soulmate series. This is Chapter 10, Chateau Miguel. Kylie stood in front of her closet. It couldn't be this hard to find something to wear. After all, it was only Tyler and not the King of Prussia. She decided on a tight black number that showed her hips, but left other areas to the imagination. She wondered what she was doing even thinking of him like that. They had decided to just be friends a long time ago, and that was what they were. But the hands over her eyes told a different story. She felt them and wondered where they had been lately. She pulled off the black dress and wiggled into a tight skirt and small bustier top. Better, she thought, pulling her hair back and fixing it in place with a Japanese comb. It felt right, she decided, as she passed in front of the full-length mirror for what seemed like the 30th time. She went to the far end of her closet and pulled out the old dress she had worn the first time they had gone on a date. It had a flowery vintage Hawaiian print and looked a little like the sarong the girls in the airports used to wear when they placed the flower lei around your neck. She yanked off the skirt and bustier and flowed into the vintage dress. It felt like home, and she approved, finally feeling like her old self. She found her jewelry box hidden under her old socks in the bottom drawer. Her grandmother's old stuff. The jewelry and not the socks. She swished around the gold, silver, and semi-precious stones until she felt it. The old charm bracelet with the little Scotty dog charm, and the one that looked like an old doctor's bag. Tidbits her great-grandfather had gotten her grandmother at every birthday until she was 16. The silver charms were a little tarnished, but that only made them seem more precious to her. Kylie clipped on the bracelet and made sure the little 4-leaf clover was still there. She wasn't sure what kind of luck she was requiring and reminded herself to keep her mind on the treasure and off Tyler's biceps. They usually made her melt, and she didn't need any distractions. She was only doing this for the new car and someone to talk to. She'd been feeling a little lonely lately and realized that was of her own making. She had to get out more. She grabbed her cell and realized it was 7:30. She was going to be late if she didn't leave now. It would take the ferry at least 20 minutes to get her across Little Bay and back onto the mainland. She often wondered why her grandmother had wanted to live out on the old island with the little chapel on the hill. But she had decided long ago to forego wondering why her grandmother had done many things. Kylie didn't want to know on many occasions, and she focused her mind on getting the Camaro going and getting to the ferry before the last load pulled out. The boat wouldn't be back tonight, and so she needed to find somewhere to spend the night. And no, she was not planning to spend it with Tyler. Kylie was smarter than that. She made arrangements at her friend Megan Rose's to spend the night at the vintage bed and breakfast. Megan owed her a night after the last time that Kylie had saved her from the roving hands of Chatham Wallace at the harvest dance. So Kylie had finagled a night in the Winthrop suite, courtesy of her ability to know when two people shouldn't really be together. The Camaro started on the first try, and Kylie threw her overnight bag on the passenger seat and folded in, being careful not to tear the dress on the cracked upholstery. She pushed her bag to the floorboard and reached into the glove box, pulling out the only bottle of perfume she owned. Late Night was a sweet, sultry scent of old tea roses and musk, mixed with patchouli and sandalwood. It would have to do, she thought, although she reminded herself that every time she wore it to a dinner date, she ended up in an entanglement she hadn't wanted. Here goes, she said, spritzing the scent in between her breasts and under her arms. Best to be protected, she thought, not really knowing why she might need protection. Sometimes when she talked to herself, her spirit guide Mallory would say things that made absolutely no sense. Mallory had passed on the night of the last hurricane, being wedged in between the rafters of her home as the waters of Little Bay surged, and she tired of calling for help. Submerged completely, for 25 minutes she had been dead on arrival when the helicopter arrived from the mainland. Kylie's only best friend gone too soon, but ever so diligent to continue her conversations with her best friend as the ever-present and only ghost in Kylie's life. Never take each other for granted had been Mallory's first words to her best friend, who had spit out her Labor Day hot dog at the sound of the voice that had whispered behind her left ear. It had taken a while to get used to Mallory.
who had made it very clear that she did not want to go to the light yet, so Kylie had foregone the almost daily calls to Father McGillicuddy's to try and have him exorcise her demon. Kylie drove the Camaro onto the ferry landing as she heard her text bell ring from the bottom of her purse. Probably Tyler making sure she was still coming, she thought, as the phone dinged again. Tyler had taken 10 minutes to get ready and smelled like soap and masculinity, if that even had a smell. It didn't take much for him to look perfectly good, a term his old flame had used whenever she saw him get out of the shower. "Tyler Marsh, you are perfectly good for me," Lacey Drummond would say just about any time she saw him. And Tyler had tired of her and her ridiculous toy poodle Roy, who always had to sleep in the bed with them and who would howl odiously whenever the couple made love. Tyler pulled his shoulder-length brown hair into a small ponytail and clipped the ear cuff onto his right ear. Someone told him it prevented headaches, but that had never been the case for Tyler. He just liked the feel of it, and for some reason it drove all the right and sometimes wrong girls into his arms. He clipped several $100 bills into his money clip and went to the fridge to get the pansy rose he had purchased that afternoon. It was Kylie's favorite, with its pink and gold edges on a full lavender bloom. Chateau Miguel's wasn't crowded on weeknights, but he had made reservations anyway. Certainly there would be talk of treasure and maybe old times, and Tyler was prepared for both. He waited patiently at the bar, swigging down not one but 2 Mai Tais, telling himself he needed to be calm to make sure he told her all about how they were going to find the 40 million gold ingots. But who was he kidding, he told himself. He was lonely too.
That is again from my book, Rose and Sky. The entire audiobook is on the podcast and on YouTube, and you can read the ebook for free at the links. All the links I talk about are always in the show notes of each of these shows. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you again soon. Take care, my loves.